Okay, well, let's go over to Georgia then. Look, Georgia's the back-to-back defending national champion. They have a death grip on college football right now.
For sure.
They won the SEC this year or this past season. They did not win it the year before, but they won the national championship against the team that beat them.
Right.
So, it kind of is what it is. They lose Stetson Bennett at quarterback. They lose a lot of guys, but they lose Stetson Bennett at quarterback, and there's kind of a three-way battle going on. I'm expecting to see I'm expecting to see Carson Beck or Brock Vandagriff. I really don't know which one will get the start day one. But Gunnar Stockton's in the mix too. I expect him to be the third guy, but he's in the mix.
Yeah, I'm seeing Carson Beck right now.
Yeah,
that's what I'm seeing as a starter. I believe when we talked about it last time, it was Vandagriff that was, I guess, headlining. Mm-hmm. But so I mean that tells you all you need to know. It's a battle.
Yeah.
Right. Dude, I mean this team is so freaking good.
Yeah.
Like they're I mean, for all intents and purposes, like this is go ahead and be a prediction. Like they're gonna win again. I mean, they're the best team in college football the past 2 years. They're still the best team in college football. It's crazy, right? Like we said they lost a lot, and they did, right? They lost a lot on the defensive side of the ball. Well, the last time they did that, they had 5 first-round picks on the defensive side of the ball specifically.
Yeah.
That's literally unheard of. Mm-hmm. Well, they come back, they have a top 10 defense. Yeah. Like, they're going to do it again. I mean, they are nuts, right? And then we look at the offensive side of the ball, and this is the perfect time to interject as to what I was talking about earlier with Dante Moore and kind of the downfall of not having the targets, right? Well, you bring Brock Bowers back, the best tight end in college football coming back. You bring back Ladd McConkey, who freaking came on the scene late and just dominated. I mean, he was good all year, but like late, he was nuts. He was catching a touchdown a game. And then you bring in Ra Thomas, you bring in Dominic Lovett, like you bring in some ballers from A&M, from Missouri. Like whoever's throwing at quarterback is gonna ball.
Yeah.
Just like Stetson Bennett did these last 2 years. Like that's the thing with Georgia. You have a great defense. You have always gonna have a good running back, and I'll let you get to him in a minute. Like you don't have to do much at quarterback there, and that's not to say that Stetson Bennett didn't do a lot, but you just have to get the ball to your guys. And when you have guys like that, you're gonna win football games.
Yeah. And so, like you were saying, with their wide receiver room, it's unbelievable how good they are and how experienced they are. Like you said, you put a guy behind center and give him those kind of targets, even at tight end, one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country. So he'll have his receiving targets, but they're still going to have to be able to open up. They're still going to have to move downfield in the run game
For sure.
They lose their starter. Kendall Milton should be the guy this year, but in spring, yet again, still battling injury. He pulled his hamstring.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a guy that we've seen that's, was a 4 or 5 star guy coming into college, was expected to be a day one type player, maybe not starter, but was going to see reps, and he's just been battling injury.
Right.
And yet again, he's hurt. So, what do we see out of him? Is he a guy that's going to come back and then be able to get through the season healthy?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, yeah, I think so. He was able – I mean, the problem is you battle injuries like that all year. You get those super productive games, but then you miss 3 and whatever. The key is they have the depth. They ran pretty much a 3-headed monster last year at running back. The names are slipping my mind. Who's in the draft right now? Kendall Milton. Anyway, they ran pretty much a 3-headed monster at running back. Obviously, they had more than enough success doing so. And again, with the weapons in the passing game, with a guy behind center who, between the two, I'm assuming it's going to be Vandagriff or Beck. I could pretty much say it will be one of those two guys.
Yeah.
They both have cannons.
Yeah.
And again, with the tight end and everything, Brock Bowers is nuts. Like it's gonna be more of a pass heavy offense this year, I think, regardless. Mm-hmm. I would argue I think anyone would tell you they have better weapons this year than last year. Reason being is because your 2 leading guys are back, so you would expect them to be better, and then the surrounding guys are better. The wide receiver 2 and 3 are better. Like these, I mean, how can you get better?
Yeah.
You went freaking undefeated. You blew everybody out. You won 65-7 in the championship game, and they got better. Like, bro, they're nuts.
Yeah.
That's super scary. And then
and then another top 5 class. This one happened to be number 2 recruiting class. This one happened to be the 2nd ranked recruiting class.
Yeah. And look, like they're not doing anything crazy in the transfer portal. They're bringing a couple wide receivers, which is dope, right? Some SEC guys that were 4 and 5 stars coming in. But look what they, like last year. You remember what they did in the transfer portal last year? 0 total players. They literally were like, no, we're good with our guys. And then that's that. They won again.
Yeah.
Like Kirby Smart's got the recipe over there.
Yeah.
He's doing everything right. Duh. Obviously, that's not anything groundbreaking. It's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Well, and then so we talked about offense a little bit. I know you touched on defense. They're losing, Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, pending
Couple DBs.
Yeah, a couple DBs, but pending what happens with Jalen Carter, he could very easily be a top 5 pick. Nolan Smith was one of the fastest defensive ends in the class.
Yeah.
I mean,
he's mocking top 10.
Yeah, they were unbelievable on defense last year, and they're losing some of their best guys. Well, they're returning their 2 leading tacklers.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, dude, Mondon and Dumas Johnson, they were their 2 leading tacklers. They're both going into their junior season. Like, that is the experience you want, especially at the linebacker position.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing to return a secondary that's dope. It's another thing to return a defensive line. When you return your 2 leading tacklers at linebacker, like, that's it. I mean, you're telling me, like, and I know you're not telling me, but, like, you people can say, well, look, they lost Jalen Carter, the most dominant player in college football. They lost Nolan Smith, like one of the biggest freak athletes. Like, yeah, that's awesome. The previous year, they had the number 1 overall pick, who was a defensive end.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jalen Carter comes through and is a dog. Nolan Smith comes through and is a dog. Like, they're going to clog up the middle. They're going to have somebody that's 330 pounds, just like Jalen Carter, who's a beast. They're going to have defensive ends who are 245, like negative 7% body fat, that also run like a 3 flat 40. Like, they have those freaks.
Yeah.
Right? And so the linebackers.
2 years ago, there was a scenario where Roquan Smith was leaving, and everybody's like, who are we going to replace him with? Well, these guys that are in these rooms right now, they were also in those rooms with those guys.
Right.
So I mean, they've just created they've created a scenario over there where they're just breeding excellence within each individual room.
Yeah, yeah. You have linebackers like Nakobe Dean going crazy, and then like Jordan Davis left. They're like, well, how are the linebackers going to make plays because Jordan Davis is like soaking up these double teams?
Yeah.
Hey, Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Like I don't know off the top of my head who's going to be next because he hasn't emerged yet. But there's going to be another Jordan Davis. There's going to be another Jalen Carter.
Yeah.
Again, you're breeding it over there. That's how you do it. That's how you draw it up.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think, yes, like people are starting to be like, oh, is it a dynasty? Well, no, they've won. Dude, it doesn't matter what it is. They're the best team in college football, talent-wise, in my opinion, because I guess that's the only thing that's really opinionated. And, yes, they've gone back-to-back. They're going to be the preseason number 1 for what I think is good reason. And I do think, and this is like you said about Michigan last year, I do think they're going to be better than they were this previous year.
Wow.
After winning 65-7.
Yeah, so look, there's lots of, and Georgia fans don't care, right? They've won national championship 2 times in a row. They don't care what the outsiders are saying.
Right.
But there are a lot of outsiders saying that, those two national championships back to back, they're a missed field, or really it was blocked against Ohio State. They blocked the field goal, so they earned that.
Right.
But they're saying they're a missed field goal away from, not winning a national championship.
Right.
They go back 2 years. They say they're an Alabama injury in the national championship away from potentially losing that game.
Right.
Before the swing. So, this is a team that, yes, has dominated over the last 2 years, but the gap hasn't been as wide as it appears.
Right. I agree. I'm always a firm believer in every facet of life, and of course in sports, you kind of create your own luck.
Yeah.
Right. So like situations like that happen, but like, yes. And I know this is not you saying that those things are true.
For sure.
But like if you're not in that championship game and you don't get it as close as it was, and like, again, you don't block the field goal, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, there's just saying like my aunt, whatever. But like my point is like if whatever, right? Like they've just been dominant. You don't just get lucky 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
You get put in the right place at the right time to make plays. Plays are made, and that's that.
I'm with you.
Injuries happen. It's a contact sport. They're the best team in college football. They're nuts. And we're going to talk about another top 5 team here shortly. And that's even more scary for what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Thanks for watching that clip. You can check out another in the top left-hand corner or the bottom right-hand corner. You can always subscribe as well to this channel or to Cards and Culture. That's linked as well. That's going to be our long-form content.
Yeah, make sure to check out the Discord in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, and we can keep this thing free forever.